Okay, the recording started. Awesome. So thanks for sharing with me, guys, on where you're at. We are going to jump into the agenda, and we're going to talk about business opportunity meetings. Do you guys hear my dog? No? Okay, only I can hear him. This is good. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to touch on, first of all, I'm going to give you some tips on how to have effective business opportunity meetings. And these meetings can be either paired with your team meetings, or they can be a completely independent, gathering, or they can be, for example, in the form of a carnival, or they can be in the form of a cocoa chat with several people around the table. So there's no limit on how and when you can do a business opportunity event. That's just sort of this umbrella title of how we share the business with multiple people. Hi, Joanne. Just jumping in. So the first thing I want to talk about is this. It doesn't matter what forum you do them in. The most important thing that you're going to do at a business opportunity event, both for your teammates and for the people coming, is you're going to cast a vision. And I know that a lot of people sort of overuse this term of casting the vision, but studies show that the number one thing that makes people follow you is your ability to have a clear vision. Okay, so the clearer your vision is about where you're going with your business and what your team is doing, the better off you will get to be, the better chances you are to have people follow you into blah. I haven't have to go get my dog, you guys. He is driving me batty. Can you hold for just 30 seconds? I'm so sorry. Okay, 10 pounds of fury, but so distracting. There he goes again. Okay, so that's the most important thing you're going to do, is you're going to cast this vision for what are these events, and what is it that people, why is it that people would want to come to these events, and why is it that they would possibly want to be a part of your team, your local community of chocolatiers, your team of people. So like I said before, the number one thing we know about leadership, a lot of people will think, well, it's integrity, or it's trust, or it's good leadership skills. And that's really not what the science shows, what the statistics show. What the statistics show is the better you are about having a clear vision, the more likely people are to jump on board. Because people want to belong to something, but they have to be clear about what it is they're following before they follow, if that makes sense. So the number one thing, again, is we want to be able to cast a vision both for your team and for the guests coming. So let's talk about the team. So before you do a business information event, you really want to be able to talk to your team about what's expected of them and what you see this event being. So if you are in the habit of having business opportunity meetings or agendas before a team meeting, then they're going to sort of treat it like, oh, it's the same old, same old. So what we want to do is we want to create sort of an expectation or raising of the bar for this particular event that you're going to go into, because we want to start increasing the value of these events. And so I know, Jen, you shared earlier, you've been at it 8 years, and so you certainly go through ups and downs in 8 years. So now is the time that we want to stop the up and down and just go for up, right? And sometimes you just have to purposely set out to do that. So it starts with talking to your team about it. So you're going to, have an invitation process. It can either be a Facebook event, it can be a team event, it can be an emailed event, it can be a paper copied event. It's not a right or a wrong, but there should be an invitation process. So your team should know, okay, look, this is how I physically invite people to this event. And there should be, preferably more than one method of doing that. So if there's an email invitation, you make that tool available to your team. If it's a Facebook event that you're sending them to, then make sure that your team knows exactly where to send them on Facebook. If it's a paper copy, then get that paper copy out to people electronically. Of course, you don't want to make tons of copies, and make sure that people are using those invitations. So you're setting the vision for this is going to be bigger and better and more effective than in the past, and we're moving into something new, right? And I expect you to invite. So what I have also found in my experience is that people tend to think they have to get people that are highly interested in our business in order to get them to show up to a business opportunity event. And that's not the case whatsoever either. But somehow we get the impression that unless they're really a hot lead, we don't want to invite them to an event. And what we want to do is we want to train our teams to get in the habit of just inviting people. Jen was sharing with me before I started the recording that the last carnival she did, they got, no business recruits, but lots of bookings because they simply got people there. So the more excitement you can generate and the more people you can get there, the better. So Who do you want to tell your team to invite? You want to tell them to invite any current or past leads that they've had, any hostesses that they're working with, either, they just recently host with them or they're going to host with them really soon. Friends. What friends do you know that you want to spend more time with? What friends do they know that would be great at this business but just keep saying no? What friends always send business to you but just, aren't interested in the business? You can still bring friends along, because the more equipped your friends are to talk about the benefits and features of our business, the better resources you'll get, and you never know when you might actually intrigue them. Okay? So you want them to invite friends. You want them to invite customers, favorite customers, customers that need to get out more often. Just no limit. Just invite customers. Follow up with customers and invite them. And then the other thing I always like to encourage is, who do you know that does direct sales? Because people that do direct sales understand the benefit of going to a business opportunity event. They learn more themselves. They get exposed to other products. Sometimes they're just sort of tired of their company or looking to expand or maybe carry a separate product. So think of other direct sellers that you know that you're connected with. So the purpose of me going through this list is to say to you, you want to share with your team who, expanding your pool, who do you want to invite to our business opportunity meeting? Okay, so you're giving them the tool of thinking who they can invite and not limiting them only to strong business leads, because that's not what you want to do. It's okay to bring somebody in that's cold or lukewarm or really hot. It doesn't matter. Just get them to the meeting. I used to love to tell my team, look, if you can get them there, I'll help you get them closed. And I may not have always got them closed, but if I could give my team that confidence that if they got them there, I would try and move them forward either as a customer or as a hostess or potential business lead, then my team was much more engaged at getting them there. And we certainly have better word choices than our team tends to, usually. So we want to be able to use the sphere of influence that we have as leaders. Okay? So that's their list of who they're going to invite. I always told my team, never come alone. So if you're coming to a business opportunity meeting and you got no one to come with, you know what? Call your sister, call your neighbor, call your cousin, call your best friend, call someone that you were supposed to get together with recently and you couldn't get together. You never want people coming alone. Again, even if they're not hot leads, the synergy of having more people at an event will be extremely helpful, and especially if they're very supportive of your team members' business. So you want those people to come along. So then you're going to need to teach them what to say, right? So you're literally, for your team, you're saying, you're raising the bar and sharing your vision for what this event's going to be. You're giving them the invitation process. You're giving them the pool of people you want them to invite from. And then the last thing you're teaching them is what to say. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few bullet points of the favorite things I like to train on how to talk to people about coming to the business opportunity. So I would say to somebody that's maybe even a lukewarm lead, hey, I would love for you to come because I would love for you to hear more about this business and just check the fit. It may or may not be for you, but let's check the fit. It's very, like Jen was saying earlier, this is not a hard sell. This is simply, I have this great business opportunity and I want to see if it might fit something that, if it might be able to bring something to you, right? There might be something in this great business opportunity that could benefit you. So let's just check and see if that fits together. And it's very non-threatening. It's very easy for people to go and say, yes, I'm interested. No, I'm not. But we're just checking the fit. So I like to use that terminology and teach your team to use these sorts of words. I thought of you because XYZ. I thought of you because you've been a hostess with me for the last 5 years, and I would just love for you to hear more about the business. I thought of you because every time you come to a party, you're always the life of the party and make it so much more fun. I want to spend more time with you. I thought of you because whatever made you think of that person, authentically tell them and invite them to the business opportunity event. Okay? The other one, I said this earlier, but I always am really soft with it. Hey, this may or may not be for you, right? It may or may not be for you. Just come explore with me. That's the basis of the message. May or may not be for you. It's not for everybody. You're going to ask probably 10 people and maybe 1 or 2 people are going to join your team. So it's not for everybody, but we won't know unless we check it out. So let's go check it out. Okay. So those are some of the words that I like to use. I also like to, again, a close friend, a relative, someone that's been super supportive of your business. Hey, you know what, Jennifer, you've always been so supportive of my business. I would love it if you would come along and just hear a little bit more. If nothing else, you serve as a great resource for me, a great reference. So I would just love for you to hear a little bit more, get some tasty treats, ride along with me, spend the evening out. So just give your team some words on what to say to the various people that they're going to invite to the event. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. If you can, here's a new topic. If you can, offer something for the guests to come. So for example, this month, you're going to have Mrs. Brown boxes. So you can say, and you want to tell them, this thing, and here's what it includes, and it would be so exciting if you could win it. Why don't you come with me to the meeting? Okay. If you don't have an incentive like we have this month, then it can be something like, hey, we're giving out, business packets with chai tea samples. I'd love for you to come along. Or, hey, we're doing a game day bundle and sampling a bunch of really good stuff that you can put together for a game day. I would love for you to come along. So give your team something to use to invite people, right? Rather than just calling, hey, will you come with me to this meeting? Hey, I'd love for you to come to this meeting, and here's what we have for you. Or there's going to be a drawing for all guests that are there. You may win XYZ. So give them something, some word, some usage for how they invite their guests, or what's in it for the guests. With them, if you've ever heard of that acronym before. What's in it for me? So we want to be able to do that. Also, in addition to that, as a leader, one of the most effective things you can do, and I've done this in the past, is actually offer an incentive for your team members for getting people there. So I would do something like, hey, the person that gets the most guests there, I'm going to take out to coffee and buy a Starbucks and have a half-hour chit-chat about your business, which is something I would probably do anyway, because you're going to coach your team anyhow, but you want to make them feel special and treat them to something. So it can be a coffee. It can be a coffee card. It can be just time with you. It can be lunch with you as their leader. It could be for every guest you bring, you get into a drawing, and then I'll draw a name and that person gets XYZ. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing. It can be the gift of time. But a lot of people are competitive and they like to win and earn things. And so if you can tie something in there that encourages people to invite people and bring guests, then that's always helpful. Again, the more people, the better the synergy, the more excitement. It's like when you're doing an event. If you're standing there all alone, people don't tend to walk up to your booth. But the minute people get in your booth, there's like a synergy that happens and brings people in, right? So we want to do the same thing at our business opportunity events. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the agenda. And for the seasoned consultants, the seasoned chocolatiers that are listening to this training, you absolutely already know how to put an agenda together. But I just want to let you know that there's many ways that you can do it. So most people follow the food cards, which is absolutely great. And they either follow it by sitting down and going over it, standing up and presenting it, or doing it in the form of a carnival. But tonight, if you want to do it that way, that's great, especially if it's effective and it works for you. But tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I always preferred to present opportunities to people that didn't feel pushy, that felt informative, like I was giving them something to learn and to compare, so to speak. So again, how you do the agenda is completely up to you, but I just want you to be aware of some of the things that I feel are very effective when you do business opportunity meetings. So a couple of things. One, testimonials are always key. So if you can get somebody that's in their quick start period and is super excited about earning, bundle number 1, bundle number 2, or their rolling cooler or whatever, a testimonial goes a long way. Or if you can get somebody that's about to earn their first trip, or somebody that went on their first trip last year and is just over the moon excited about how spoiled they got on that trip. Those are great testimonials to give. If you have somebody on your team and their life is just completely different because of this business, which happens frequently, maybe they were a working mom and now they get to stay home with their kids, or maybe they were home with their kids and just going crazy because they needed something for themselves and this business has provided that. If you have a strong testimony on your team just about what this business has done for someone, that's another great example. Before you have those people speak though, it's good to do this. It's good to coach them. So you want to tell them, hey, you're going to talk for maybe 3 minutes, maybe 3 to 4 minutes tops. Here's 5 bullet points I want you to hit. And you coach them through it. If somebody's really nervous and they just don't like talking in front of groups, then the best thing you can do is actually ask questions. So I might say, hey, I'm going to have Jennifer come up here. She's in her quick start period. She's already earned 3 bundles and she's super excited and on fire for this business. So I'm going to have Jen up here and just give you a little bit of information about what's happening. And then I'm literally going to look at Jennifer and I'm going to say, Jennifer, why did you decide to start this business? Right? And then I'm going to say, so you started it because it was offered to you and you thought, why not? But now why do you stay? So I'm gonna use my question so that she doesn't have to stand up there and be rehearsed with 3 to 5 minutes of presenting. So those are ways that you can give testimonials that are highly effective. It's also really effective if you can get different spectrums. So again, a newer consultant, a seasoned consultant, maybe a young mom, maybe somebody close to retirement, so that the face of the person is a little bit different, because my story may not connect with that person, but maybe Jennifer's story does. And so a variety of testimonials. So I like to have 1 to 2, maybe 3 testimonials max, that just hit on a variety of things when I'm doing a business opportunity event. And where you weave them in is completely up to you. But I'll share with you how I might weave those in. Okay. So for me, when we're doing a biz op meeting in the past, I would encourage different participation. You don't want, somebody walking up every 30 seconds and sharing, but maybe there's 2 or 3 people that share. And then I would always start with welcoming people. Thanks for coming. So, thank you so much for coming. Little housekeeping. And then I would say to them, tonight, we want to share with you a little bit about the direct selling industry. Okay. And I would say the direct selling industry is amazing, and here's some reasons why. I don't know if you guys have heard this statistic before, but they say that over 80% of the women in the United States that make more than $100,000 a year do it through direct sales. I'm putting some validity to our business model. And why is this such a popular business model? Well, it's popular because women get to have their business and their family time too, right? It provides flexibility. You get to decide how many hours you work. You get to decide what hours you work. You get to decide when you want to give yourself a raise. So you want to talk about all of the things that make our industry so amazing. Okay? You get to be your own boss. You have your own business, but you're not all by yourself. There's very little startup costs when you come into direct sales, unlike, opening a storefront. And so you want to talk about why direct sales is this most amazing thing. And then what you're going to do is you're going to say, and so tonight, what I want to talk about is why we believe Dove Chocolate Discoveries is the best direct selling company out there. And how you can best look at a direct selling company and say whether it's for me or not is I like to break it down into 3 categories. And those 3 categories are this: the product, the programs, and the people that will support you. Okay? The product, the programs, and the people that will support you. So I'm not going to go into each of those because you guys can talk more about this business than even I can, but let's just start with product. If I'm going to talk about the product, I'm going to talk about chocolate. I'm going to talk about how, over 80% of the people out there name it as their favorite flavor. How chocolate is a fun thing. How there's no competition when it comes to chocolate. There's not a bunch of other direct selling companies competing for our customers. I'm going to talk about how we provide this most amazing product, the Savory line, that helps women save time, put healthy meals on the table, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to talk all about products, and I'm going to share it with complete enthusiasm and talk about why it is a great product. You can sell it to everybody because everybody eats. Everybody eats, right? So you're going to talk about products. The second thing you're going to talk about is the programs. And our programs that I would touch on would be Quick Start. Our Quick Start has amazing cash bonuses. I've never, and this is me, Heather, speaking, I have never seen a Quick Start program as rich as ours. Never. And I'm well versed in the direct selling industry. So as a leader getting up there speaking, you can speak with confidence and tell those people we have this most amazing Quick Start period. So even if you're considering checking the fit tonight and this might be something for you, I would highly encourage you to try it for your Quick Start period. There's so much to be gained. So much to be gained. And I would just talk a little bit. You don't want to give them too much information. You want to just make them hungry for more information. So I would talk about the Quick Start program. I would talk about our trips. I would talk about some of the training that's available to us. I would talk about our amazing compensation plan. I would talk a little bit about money, but not a lot. You don't want to make false claims in any way whatsoever, but you can talk about the percentages going from 25 to 40% every month. 40% is very high in this industry, right? You can talk about how when we help you become successful, then the company rewards us with override payments, right? So once again, you're emphasizing when you become successful, we get rewarded by the company, okay? Which there's nothing in it for us unless you are successful. So we're very vested in you with our compensation plan. Okay, so those are the programs that you're going to want to touch on. If it were me running the meeting, that's when I would insert those stories. So if I had a trip testimonial and I talked about the amazing trip, that's a great time to break and have someone give their testimonial about a trip. Okay, if I'm talking about Quick Start, that's a great time to have someone that's just earned a bunch of Quick Start that's very excited to get up and give their testimonial. Okay, so we talk about product, which is easy for us to talk about because we have a great product line. We talk about the programs because we have amazing programs. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is the people and the people that will support you. And this is where you've casted that vision and talked about what your team either is capable of currently doing or going to be doing. Okay, so I'm casting that vision again. I used to say, you know, I'm in the Northwest region, like Seattle, Washington area. I would say we have the group of ladies here tonight have the strongest team in the Northwest. Or I would say our goal is to be the strongest team in the Northwest. And I would talk about it from a standpoint of I'm casting a vision about how strong this team is and why you want to be a part of it. I would talk about the amazing field development support that's offered to you. I would talk about quick start training being available to you twice a week. I would talk about Molly at the home office and how she's available to help onboard brand new chocolatiers and how the company invests in that position so that she can help you. So those are the people. Why on earth would they want to work with your team? You're going to tell them why. Okay? So again, I'm going to talk about direct sales. I'm going to tell them why it's such a great industry. And then I'm going to tell them how to evaluate that. And while I'm telling them how to evaluate that, I'm going to tell them how Dove Chocolate Discoveries measures up through our product, our programs, and our people. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. I'll move on from there. So that's what I refer to as my 3 Ps. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about is having a strong close. And so how you close your business opportunity meetings is completely up to you. But some of my favorite ways to close a business opportunity meeting is to talk about this. I might say something like, and ladies, I just need to share with you that nothing changes until we change. So where are you going to be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? How old are your kids going to be? How much of your mortgage will you have paid down? Will you have that house that you really hope to have? So what will change in your life in the next 3 to 5 years that's going to make a difference? And I'm here to tell you that if you take full advantage of our company and our programs, that you can make a difference in your life. But that's your decision. So I would do a strong sell that way. The other thing you can do is you can do sort of a soft sell, which is, hey, you know what? You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. I heard this the other night. I think it was Rebecca Graham was talking about this, and she said, at the worst case, you just go ahead and eat your kid, right? So really, you got nothing to lose. You have a very low investment. In worst case, you can use that food and eat it and create some great meals for your family, and you could get into the quick start period. So it's sort of that closing of, what do you got to lose? You got everything to gain and nothing to lose. Give it a shot. You can even talk about the fact that they could choose at that point to have a decider show. Once again, nothing to lose, everything to gain. You can get great host benefits, and then you can make a decision whether or not this really is the right fit for you. But I challenge you just to open up your thoughts about what this business might be able to do for you. I'm sure glad it happened for me. Sometimes as a presenter, this might be a good time for you to share a little bit about your testimony too. Okay, so then the next thing I like to do is this. I'll tell them, okay, ladies, we're going to break now, and we've got some really yummy desserts up in the kitchen. I want to encourage you to grab a cup of coffee, have some treats, try our products out because you're going to love them. And then we're going to answer any questions that you might have. But I just want to tell you that tonight we have these agreements here. Now, I know a lot of you are breaking here. A lot of you have computers and you like to sign people up with computers, but I'm going to tell you I'm a paper girl. And here's why I'm a paper girl. Because sometimes when we get to the computer, it can kind of freak people out about closing the deal right then and there. But if I'm going to do a drawing, let's just say I've got 10 guests and I've got 3 Mrs. Brown boxes, right? And I'm going to do a drawing. I'm going to take everybody who's decided to move forward with us in this business and give it a try. And I'm going to take their agreements and I'm going to draw 3 names from it, right? And again, if it's not a Mrs. Brown box, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a package of 3 products or something that you use as a team, whatever it is. So I'll give people agreements. You know, look, I just want you to see our agreement. It's very, easy and light. Just take a look at it. We're gonna come around and see if you have any questions, grab some refreshments, and then we'll reconvene in about 15 minutes. If they're even remotely interested, I get them to fill out the agreement. And then at the end, when I'm doing the agreements, I have all the agreements and I can draw and provide that incentive that we said we were gonna draw for that night. Does that make sense? We can sign them up later. We can do the decider show later. We can get all the bookings set out later, but we want those agreements filled out. It's like if we can get the agreement filled out, we're so much closer to actually making that person a chocolatier and joining our teams. Okay. So during the break, I'll hand these out, or I'll have them available, or give them to the leaders in the room or the chocolatiers that brought people. And then I just make myself available. As a leader, I just ask, so what do you think? What questions do you have? And if I sense there's sort of a hesitation, what's holding you back? I just ask the questions and I address the questions. And you know what? Sometimes it's still not a good fit, but I'm a lot closer after this process has taken place. A lot closer. So the break is over. I might have gotten 5 agreements back, 5 chocolatier contracts. I bring those up front. I pull them out. If I've got 3 and I've got 3 Mrs. Brown Box, then I name the 3 people that have just joined our team. We give them a big round of applause. We give them their boxes. We tell them we're so excited to have them as part of our team, and we wrap up our meeting from there. Okay? I will also say at that point, you want to thank every single person that's there, because maybe Susie down the road just came with me because I've asked her as a favor to come with me. And maybe this isn't the time for her to join the business, but you know what? It might be in the future. So I want her to be happy and comfortable whether she says yes or no, so that she's free to come back again. So it's not a hard sell. It's a very light. Okay? So I thank everybody for coming. We say, that we're going to stay open for another 15 minutes, or we're going to start our team meeting next, whether this is before the team meeting or a separate agenda item, however that works for you and your team. And then we just segue into the next thing. So those are my tips on running effective biz ops. And again, you don't call them biz ops necessarily, information meetings or, chocolatier sharing, or whatever title you want to give them is perfectly fine. But those are some of the things that I did. And I have to say that business opportunity events were something that I really accelerated in the past. And we tried many things. And these were a lot of the tried and true things that worked really well. So any questions, you guys, before I stop the recording? Deep in thought. Did you get anything out of it? Some tips? Jennifer?
I'm still nervous.
Of course. You know what? It's not going to go perfect the first time, but it's like anything else. It's like doing your first party, right? And, and again, whenever I messed up in front of people, I would always be like, wow, and if I can do this business, so can you. It's not a big deal. Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't. And the more women you have, the more encouragement you'll have around you. And that's one thing I would say too, also when you're talking about the people, like this business is made up of like-minded, encouraging women. If you're not positive, like-minded, sticking together, growing as an individual, you don't tend to stay with this business. So that's a benefit of the people in this business. And so it'll happen. They'll be supportive. Yeah. And you can make a small one to begin with. You can do a cocoa chat, like I said, and just start sharing from there. But as it begins to, snowball and get bigger, then you want to have some tools to do bigger events, because that's when the real duplication and excitement starts kicking in. So, Jen, do you have any questions before I stop the recording?
No, for me, I think it's just nice to hear the same things in a different voice.
Yeah.
Things I say, things I teach, and things because not everything works.
No.
I think the biggest thing and the biggest training is, and I say it, I've been doing the business almost 8 years. They let anybody do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I say it at parties, and people look at me, and I really do. Yeah. I said, I started this business honestly as a mom of 4 who really just wanted to pay for, in the grand scheme of things, to look back at it now, something silly and funny.
Yeah. And
8 years later, this is what I'm doing. And my teenager has now even said comments like, well, when I do the business, which if anybody has a teenager, biggest compliment ever.
Ever, yeah.
So, it's really cool. It's cool for my youngest to say, wait, there was a life before Dove, mm-hmm. because she's almost 8. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't know any of that.
Yeah.
I've done biz ops and cocoa chats, from doing them online with a PowerPoint presentation we put together, to over the phone, to at the local coffee shop, to big events. So, sometimes one-on-one, Jennifer, if you're nervous, is actually better
Mm-hmm.
because then there's no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, one of the things that I love to do is ask people, hey, I've just learned this new skill. Can I practice with you?
Mm-hmm.
And then it totally takes all the pressure off them because you're practicing.
Yeah.
But what if the person you're practicing with has always thought, I could do that. I want to do that. How come she's never asked me to do it?
Right. And sometimes you can be those are really good comments, Jen. Sometimes you can actually be doing a biz op or planning for a biz op and things don't go as expected, and you're sitting there and you've got a couple people. Do a Coco chat. Do a Coco chat. It's totally fine. There's not a right or a wrong way to do it, right? It's how you make people feel and the encouragement and the excitement that you give them that will be reciprocated. So you don't have to say everything perfectly and do everything perfectly, but if I'm genuinely excited for my business, then people will follow. They just do. It's like a contagious thing. And sometimes, honestly, I like doing biz ops just because if I found my excitement waning, then that was always a good way to get back into it. So nothing more exciting than bringing people on board, gets you excited too. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording, you guys. Again, not a right or a wrong way, and lots of stuff that you've probably heard before, but I just want to share it and encourage you. And if you find a word choice or two that you can use, or if you have questions, or if we can help in any way, you just let us know, okay? You can do it, Jennifer. I know you can. Okay, you guys.